Coming up on today's show, the rookie numbers were announced, so we're going to share them with you all here. And then we'll talk about potentially trading for Najee Harris after an interesting rumor is developing over in the Steel City. But let's look at the rookie numbers for your Denver Broncos. Bo Nix gets number 10. It's what he wore in high school, at Auburn, at Oregon. It's what his dad wore at Auburn. So you knew that he was going to want number 10, and we'll share how he ended up getting number 10. Troy Franklin gets 16. Cornerback Kris Abrams-Draine gets number 31. Audric Estime gets 37. Jonah Elliss with 52. That's a good edge rusher number. I like that for him. We got an offensive lineman in the 60s, so you know that's going to be fun. Devaughn Vele from Utah gets number 81, previously worn by Tim Patrick, who also went to Utah. But ultimately, all eyes are, of course, on Bo Nix here because Zach Wilson got number 10 right before the NFL draft started. And then, fun story here, Zach Wilson could have sold the number to Bo Nix. There are countless and endless stories of players paying a good penny for some nice jerseys and their preferred number. But ultimately, Zach Wilson was being a bit of a team-first guy, I would say here. He surrendered number 10 before Bo Nix even had to ask, called up the trainers once the pick was made and said, listen, I've got a feeling this guy's going to want number 10, so he can have number 10. Give me a new number, and we'll go over Zach Wilson's new number in a moment. But really cool, very kind thing for Zach Wilson to do. If you want to get a Bo Nix jersey, by the way, now that we know the number, it's all official. Go to chatsports.com/Nix. I put that information in the comments and description of today's video. But Zach Wilson will wear number 4, which was previously worn by Jarrett Stidham, who now takes over number 8, and Bo Nix is number 10. So if I'm Zach Wilson, I think it's actually a pretty smart move to be the big man here and not even make the rookie quarterback pay the veteran for his preferred number. Instead, I think Zach Wilson is probably sizing up the situation here, which is Bo Nix is this team's starting quarterback at some point, sooner rather than later. So instead of, souring that relationship a little bit by, hey, give me $50,000 for your number and you can have it, Bo Nix instead doesn't have to pay a dime. Zach Wilson gives it up, and Zach Wilson maybe gets a leg up on Jarrett Stidham to be the backup quarterback because maybe the coaching staff looks at that as hey, that's a really mature and nice move by a veteran to do when he didn't have to do that. So maybe some brownie points go over to Zach Wilson's way as he competes for the backup job against Jarrett Stidham for the behind Bo Nix, who eventually will take over the starting job. It's just a question of training camp, week 1, week 2. At some point, Bo Nix will be the team starter. Other notable number changes that took place this offseason to remind you guys, in addition to Jarrett Stidham, Baron Browning went from 56 to number 5. Completely forgot about that. So did Tim Patrick changing numbers. Also forgot about. 81 down to number 12. So Baron Browning takes over number 5 from Randy Gregory. Tim Patrick probably just needed, to ditch the curse of number 81 the last 2 years with the back-to-back brutal season-ending injuries before the season even started. So fresh slate, new number, new me, new Tim Patrick. I'm excited for him. Now, what is the best number for a quarterback? I love when sports fans, well, maybe it's just me. I love debating numbers. I have a big belief that your number will reflect how good of a player you are. Like, you cannot be a successful NFL quarterback and wear number 19. It's just not going to happen. Tom Brady does not have 6, 7 rings with number 19. No way. Peyton Manning does not have the success he has if he's not wearing 18. Personal favorite number for a quarterback, I like 17. I just like number 17 in general. Phillip Rivers kind of made that one work, but he was the only one to do so. Not a big fan of 3. Sorry, Russ. I never really liked number 3. 11's okay, but it's very dependent on the font of the jerseys. Like, some teams just have straight lines for 1, and then that looks a little bit weird, right? But for me, I would probably go with 5 or 7. I think those numbers actually just slap. All right, next up on the show, should the Broncos trade for Najee Harris? So the Pittsburgh Steelers running back had his fully guaranteed 5th-year option declined for 2025. Very cheap, too, just $6.7 million. 5th-year options, by the way, are determined by whether or not you made 1 Pro Bowl, multiple Pro Bowls, playing time, and Najee Harris was not in one of the upper tiers of that. Now, the rumor coming out of Pittsburgh is Harris asked the team to decline his fifth-year option. That comes from a beat reporter at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So you can quickly connect the dots of why would a player ask a team to decline a fully guaranteed $6.7 million contract for a position group that is seeing its decline? I think it sounds like Harris wants out of Pittsburgh. Like he's willing to bet on himself to try and get another contract in free agency from another team, right? To me, it looks like Harris is looking to get out of this city at some point in the near future, if not before the season gets underway. Would not be blown away if it is true that he asked the team to decline his fifth-year option, that we see him request a trade or something like that, or if a trade goes down, because it doesn't seem like it's a very good union right now in the Steel City, which I'm somewhat surprised by, because when you just look at the raw numbers, 3 straight years of 1,000+ yards, like there's not a lot of NFL running backs that have done that in their careers. But then again, I'm not surprised, because look a little bit deeper. The guy's averaged 3.9 yards a carry. They're just force-feeding him the football. I mean, 250+ carries through all 3 seasons. I kind of hope you get to 1,000 yards, which, by the way, he did twice by the tune of 35 and 38 yards to spare. So the 1,000 number really jumps out to you, but then when you factor in the amount of carries he's gotten and the extra game, it's not as impressive as it may have sounded a few years ago. So I'm not a big Najee Harris believer. I think his backup running back, Jaylen Warren, who was a UDFA out of Oklahoma State, is better than Najee Harris. So I think it's a smart move by the Pittsburgh Steelers to decline his fifth-year option, because he kind of stinks. So, yeah, why would you want to pick up a fully guaranteed option for a guy that's not very good, averaging less than 4 yards a carry? It was a very bizarre draft pick when it happened, because if you remember back then, the Steelers' offensive line was atrocious. They had a first-round pick, and they decided to use it on a running back who needed a good offensive line in front of him. It wasn't like it was a generational type back. I never liked the pick when it happened, and I still don't today. Now, I'll toss it your way here before we look further into the Broncos running back room. Surface level, would you trade for Najee Harris? Like, take out what it would cost to get him and all that. Just, are you interested? In or out, Burger? Let me know. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. I'm out. I'm not interested for 2 reasons. 1, I think he sucks. 2, I don't think the Broncos really need Najee Harris. You've got Javonte Williams, Jaleel McLaughlin, Samaje Perine, and Audric Estime. Like, when you look at those 4 running backs, they've all got pretty defined roles in my eyes for 2024. Javonte Williams is your default back, right? You can use him on first down, second down, third down. He is very versatile. You can use him all over the field. He may not stand out in one area outside of his ability to generate yards after contact, but he is your default base package running back. Samaje Perine is there for pass protection, and then we saw last year on 3rd and long, dump it off to Perine, and he'll make it 4th and short, and maybe you go for it in that scenario. But Samaje Perine, good at pass protection, good in the receiving department. Jaleel McLaughlin kind of fills in all the gaps between Williams and Perine. He's good in screens. He had a lot of really good touches in the red zone. If you've got 1st and goal from the 10-yard line, you're not really in a goal line situation where you can just hand it off behind 5-6 offensive linemen and a fullback. But McLaughlin in that spot is really good with the ball in his hands in open space. So he is your fun, like, playmaking, design, dream running back where you find a way to get the ball in his hands in open space and he'll do the rest. And then I think the Notre Dame rookie, Audric Estime, he's your goal line back. He is an absolute bowling ball of a human being. He doesn't have flashy speed. He's not a precision route runner out of the backfield, but he's a big dude. And he scored 18 touchdowns last year for the Fighting Irish, not by accident, but by pounding it in at the goal line. So I think that's what his role will be, because Williams, through 3 years, never really showed a whole lot of promise when it came to finesse at the goal line. But I am still a believer in Javonte Williams having a strong 2024 season. Last year, remarkable comeback, was ready for week 1 after suffering multiple torn knee ligaments, was ready for the first day of training camp, for crying out loud, but was a bit of a disappointment, right? 774 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an average of 3.6 yards per carry. But I'm going to go out on a limb right now, when it may not be as popular to say as it was a few years ago, that I think Javonte Williams is going to have a really strong season. Why? Two reasons primarily. One, he's an extra full year removed from that knee injury he suffered, what will be in October of 2022. So nearly 2 years from a very scary incident in Las Vegas. Two, it's a contract year, and you should know the drill by now. Running backs in contract years somehow have a great season. I mean, history does not lie. DeAndre Swift last year, 3 years with the Lions, 1 year with the Eagles. What does he do? He goes over 1,000 yards for the first time in his NFL career. Josh Jacobs in the final year of his rookie contract. Raiders declined his fifth-year option. What does he do? He leads the NFL in rushing. Saquon Barkley had his fifth-year option picked up. Final year of it. What does he do? 1,300 yards. Also 2 years removed from a very serious injury. Miles Sanders. Guy couldn't get anywhere near 1,000 yards through the first 3 years in Philly. What does he do in the fourth year? 1,200 yards, nearly 5 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns. He gets paid by the Carolina Panthers, which that's the Panthers' mistake, but it worked out for Philly in that season. So, yes, there is a track record of it being popular to say, don't pay running backs, don't draft running backs. I think it's okay to draft a running back, just don't make the mistake of overpaying them once that rookie contract has expired. But for me, I'm a believer in Javonte Williams, 2 years removed from that injury, contract year, rookie quarterback, so you know they're going to want to run the ball a lot to take some of the pressure off of Bo Nix. It all points to Javonte Williams having a career year. So I'm very excited for him. I don't think Denver needs to trade for Najee Harris. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. Would love to hear your thoughts below in the comment section. But that will do it for us on today's show. Bo Nix gets number 10. Najee Harris, stay the hell away from Denver.